This is not the sort of draft that you want to have 3 first-round picks in. If you could choose to have 3 first-round picks in a draft that you think is bad, which is the general consensus of this draft, or in like a draft of just completely indeterminate quality, next year is a total mystery. You would choose next year because
the Peter Griffin box?
Yes, on average, that unidentified draft class is probably going to be better because it's going to be average than this draft class, which is bad.
We're going to get into a couple big things that shaked up the draft. Shook up? Shake? I don't know why I said shake. Shook up the draft. I'm shooketh. The Eagles and Saints made a trade. Now, yes. Solak is an Eagles fan from Eastern Pennsylvania. We're going to leash Solak right now. I'm going to like tie him up around the chair, like the leg of a chair, and just we're going to make sure he can't attack right now.
Woof.
And I'm going to get through the. So, of course, Adam Schefter broke the deal, and I'm just going to read the Schefter tweet just for the hell of it.
Just word soup.
Trade, all caps, : Eagles sending picks number 16, number 19, and number 194 in the 6th round to the Saints in exchange for pick number 18, number 101 in the 3rd round, number 237 in the 7th round, and all caps, a 2023 first round pick and 2024 second round pick, per sources. Saints now at 16, 19, Eagles at 15, 18, period.
Love when he sneaks in a semicolon.
Yeah, we love that.
I don't know about you guys and how you process information. I have literally never been able to read a sentence with like 5 picks and figured out what the trade was.
Yeah.
So then Schefter helpfully tweeted a Photoshop that basically explained it. The Saints get 16, 19, and 194. The Eagles get 18, 101, it's still confusing.
You want to hear? I saw on The Athletic, apologies, I can't remember who the author was. They laid it out very easily for my mind to understand what happened. Do you want me to just tell you how to think about this trade?
Yes.
Yeah, sure.
Okay. Think about it this way. The Eagles traded their 6th round pick to move from 19 to 18. The Saints traded a 22 third rounder, a 2022 7th rounder, a 2023 first rounder, and a 2024 second rounder for number 16. So in other words, a first, second, third, and 7th for number 16. Does that make sense?
I'm still confused. This is the way I thought of it.
My turn. My try. You ready?
Okay,
Here we go.
You go.
This is like 2 jargons, 1 lie. We all just get a shot.
Which one's
Everybody
the fake
gets
trade?
a chance. Okay. 18 and 19, just erase those. They're the exact same picks. Don't give a hoot. All right, shut up. It don't matter.
Solak.
The Eagles sent their 6th this year to the Saints. The Saints sent their 7th back. Erase that. It's day 3 picks.
Yeah.
It's like 40 pick difference. They don't matter.
Yeah.
All right. The Saints gave the Eagles this year's 3rd, next year's 1st, and then a 2024 2nd for the 16th overall pick this year.
Yeah.
Can I go now?
Craig's turn.
Craig.
Eagles planning for the future. Saints getting stuff right now.
Yeah.
Finite.
Yes. Well done. Look at all Saul. Okay, so if I'm gonna try to wrap that all. The Saints got a first for a future first, a future second, and a third. And that's basically it. So I think that it's actually I like how we boiled that down and down and down. That's basically what this is. Mm-hmm. It's as Craig said, the Eagles are like, we're gonna push at this in the future. And the Saints, in my mind, are basically saying, we're just going for it. I feel like the Saints have no patience. The Saints are always thinking short term. And I think the Saints basically sized up the NFC and were like, all these teams suck. Everyone got worse. The only team that's actually going for it this year is the Bucs, who the Saints beat twice last year. And the Bucs are running it back with Tom Brady and everything. The Saints are like, screw that. You're making a Super Bowl run? No, we're going to make a Super Bowl run. And I think that they're just going to try to replace Ron Armstead at left tackle. I don't think they're getting a quarterback. I don't think they're doing any of that. We can get to the Saints in a second. But Eagles, Solak, I'm unleashing you.
Hello.
How did you feel when the Eagles made this trade?
Great. We've talked about this. Well, actually, first, confusion. And then I pulled out my spreadsheets and my calculator. I was like, all right, what happened here? Yes. Great. And we've talked about this on the show previously, and this has been the vibe for, I think, a lot of Eagles fans. This is not the sort of draft that you want to have 3 first-round picks in. If you could choose to have 3 first-round picks in a draft that you think is bad, which is the general consensus of this draft, or in like a draft of just completely indeterminate quality, next year is a total mystery. You would choose next year because
the Peter Griffin box?
Yes, on average, that unidentified draft class is probably going to be better because it's going to be average than this draft class, which is bad. And so you push one of those first-round picks into the future and you say, all right, next year, if there is a quarterback that we want to trade up for, if there's a veteran quarterback we want to go acquire, if we get it with Jalen Hurts, and we have better clarity on what is a really, really, really young roster in Philadelphia. We'll know our spots, our needs a little bit more. That's when we want to have those first round picks. So by pushing a first round pick into the future, the Eagles are, I think, appropriately understanding both their timeline as a team. They're not getting suckered in by the fact that they made the playoffs. They know they're a young team. They know they're a growing team. And they are appropriately judging the relative quarterback classes. 2022 is not the year to have the trade up package to go get a quarterback. If there's going to be a year for that, it's more likely to be 2023. It seems the Saints disagree, because certainly on the table for the Saints now is that they trade up for a quarterback in this year's draft. And if they have a guy they love, sure, go for it. That's fine. But off my understanding of the class and the consensus estimation of the class, it is a bad class. It is preferable to be on the Eagles side here and to be looking towards the future to go make your big trades and your big moves for quarterback.
Also, in addition to that, there's this chance, and it's, I think, a solid chance, the Saints are just a dumpster fire this year, and this draft pick ends up being a top 10 pick in 2023, right? Kind of like what we saw with, the Seahawks in trading for Jamal Adams. When they made that trade, they didn't think that they were going to be a top 10 pick. Turns out it was a couple of years later because everything fell apart. There's been examples of this over the years. The Dolphins thought they were a contending team, and they traded future first, and then they tanked. So I think this is Roseman again, not only pushing things out, but like sort of rolling the dice, or at least expecting there's a chance this could be a really high pick, which would elevate the value even more.
Yeah, Kevin Cole at PFF tweeted about this when the trade happened, which I think it's a stats term called asymmetrical value, where basically like the pick the Eagles traded was 16. It's literally the middle pick of the first round. It is average. If the Saints are better, right? The Saints are better than the average team, then that pick goes from 16 to 24. Okay, not great, but like that's kind of fine. You know what I mean? Whatever. You're not really losing that much going from 16 to 24. If the Saints are below average and that pick goes from 16 to 8, that jump is huge. It is substantial relative to the drop off of 16 to 24. So trading for that future first and taking that bet on a team being bad is generally a good idea because, all right, if you miss the bet, whatever, 16 to 24 kind of sucks. If you hit 16 to 8, huge win for your team.
So that makes a ton of sense. And I want to actually jump around to a listener email because of something that you said, Solak, and you basically were saying that if you want picks in a draft, you kind of don't want this draft. So I want to read an email from Dominic who says, draft people are talking about how this is not a good year for prospects, just all around. Quarterbacks, every other position. Why is that? A lot of the prospects seem like great talent, one of the most athletic classes we've seen. What makes so many people look at this class and just go,
I think it's a little bit law of numbers. You know what I mean? Like sometimes you're just going to get a bad class, right? Like just, the dice are not going to fall your way. The athletic thing is, in my opinion, a little bit of a red herring. I think not every class is going to be the most athletic class for forever and forever and forever. But in reality, like the bad tests, short shuttle 3-cone that we see at the combine that are run at 11 p.m. at night, nobody's just doing them anymore. You know what I mean? Right. And training has gotten so much better and so much more specified that classes are always going to test well. So most athletic doesn't really register for me in the same way that it may have had in like 10, 15 years ago, whatever. The reason we're talking about it as not a great class is because it isn't. You know what I mean? That's kind of why like teams have numerical grading scales, right? If you ever see those behind the scenes draft videos and you got to look at one of those like player tag names, it's like Trevor Lawrence, quarterback Jags, 8.0, right? They have this numerical grading scale. So that way they can compare the relative strength of classes, right? Like, all right, this class had 3 guys above an 8. Well, this class just on those numerical grading scales that remain objective year over year, this class just doesn't really hold the same water, right? So I think to me, it's just a roll of the dice thing.
A couple other things I think that are variables here in judging how good a class is. Number one, this quarterback class is deemed, and I would back it up at this point. Like I was telling Heifetz this morning, I'm kind of just out on this quarterback class. Like none of them really excite me anymore. Like I think Malik Willis is very intriguing, but he has such a low floor too that I'm just kind of out. You go back last few years, we've had some really like exciting, potentially elite quarterbacks that will definitely elevate a draft class and push guys down further for other teams that don't need quarterbacks. So it's just more exciting for everyone else. Now you're going to have like all the top guys go off in the top 10 probably. And then another part of this is the fact that there just aren't as many like top tier blue chip elite considered prospects in this class, which is I think pulling down the overall feeling of the class. And number 3, which I think is a big part of it, is the 2020 season, the COVID shortened season really fucked everything up in terms of like evaluations, creating benchmarks to, creating benchmarks to evaluate these guys based on previous classes. You know, the 2020 season is more or less just like a wash. It feels like, because some teams didn't play a full season. You know, a lot of guys opted out. You're still getting guys coming back after opting out in 2020. They played in 2021. Maybe their development wasn't quite what you'd expect or whatever. So like the 2020 season, I think, really screwed up the class and the perception of the class and like the overall like typical like journey that some of these guys make. And I think that's kind of affecting like maybe not necessarily the quality of the class, but just the perception of the class.
That's interesting, because the other thing about the COVID year in terms of this class is like, I don't think Pickett's a first rounder without the extra year of eligibility. Mm-hmm. Hutchinson probably is because of testing, but he ain't a top 5 player without the extra year of eligibility. Ritter ain't nowhere near round 1 without extra year. Like, yes, it threw a monkey wrench in a lot of things, but also a lot of the top guys are only here because they got the extra year. And so it does make it weird, because also they're super old, and super old prospects get discounted. So it throws it off.
Well, and then maybe that's perhaps why this is a weak class, if everyone's like these late in their college career players.